Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass. This week we're expanding our look at learning the fretboard by taking a quick look at chord charts. As I mentioned in the recent 3 tips for learning the notes on the neck lesson, playing along to chord charts can be a great way of learning the notes on the neck because you're seeing the notes on the page and then locating them on the instrument, just like we did last week with our note test sheets, but we get to do this with more interesting musical application. We're actually playing along to a tune. So as a brief introduction to chord charts, we can look at a preview lesson from the new revised beginner bass guitar course from Talkingbass. This is a 10-lesson course for absolute beginners that will be released in the next few weeks. So subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment, and let's take a look at the basics of chord charts. A chord chart is less bass specific than tablature in that we're just seeing an outline of the harmony. Sometimes we'll read chords from something called a lead sheet. This is where we have the melody of a song written in standard notation with chords written above. As bass players, we can ignore the melody line and just read the chords. You might also see chords written out using something called slash notation, where we have the bars of the song filled with simple slash markings for each main beat, and again the chords are written above. So this allows us to see upon which beats the chords are played. You might also see chords written without slashes or melody, just bar lines and chords. This is pretty much the same thing as the slash notation, but without the slash markings. Chords contain 2 parts: the root note, which is the basic note name like C or D or B flat, and then we have the quality. Now this could be major, minor, augmented, diminished for triads, or we might have the additional numbers like major 7, minor 7, 6, 6, 9, sus 4. This is all something that you'll learn about as you study harmony and chord construction. The Chord Tone Essentials course here at Talkingbass is a complete, exhaustive deep dive into every aspect of chord construction principles, and you can use them in creating bass lines, fills and solos. So if you want to work down that path, then Chord Tone Essentials is the way to go. As I mentioned earlier, for now as a beginner, you can just stick to the basic root notes as your guide in following a chord chart. So if you saw this chord chart of C, A minor, D minor, G, you could just follow the root notes C, A, D, and G. Then, even if we expanded those chords to give us something like C major 9, A minor 11, D minor 13, and G7 flat 9, you could still play that same C, A, D, G. Don't worry about the chord qualities until you've learned a little bit of harmony knowledge. So, as an example, you're in a band and the guitar player gives you a piece of paper with a bunch of chords written on it. That's a chord progression. And this is for a new song that he's written and you have to play something. So you've got to make up a bass line. So the easiest and most common way to play through something like that is, as I said, to just play the root notes. So if we have a basic chord progression of C major for 2 bars, F major for a bar, and G major for a bar, which you see here, I can just use the notes C, F, and G. So on seeing that chord chart, I might play something like this with 1 note per bar. So here it is with the track. C, C, F, G. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the root notes C, F and G, and I'm just holding down the bottom end, just playing a single note for each bar. But as you could hear, it's pretty boring. You know, 1 note every bar might work for some songs and styles, maybe a slow ballad, but other styles will usually need a little more interest in the bass department. So this is where our place in the rhythm section and that partnership with the drummer comes into play. The rhythm that we play often comes from the drum beat. The bass drum, also called the kick drum in particular. Now the bass drum is that low thud of a sound that on its own sounds like this. If we listen to a simple pop rock drum beat, you can hear it in context. So there we've got the bass drum, that low thud, on 1, the and of 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. So let's have a listen to the drum beat that we had on our practice track with the chord progression. So here we've got the bass drum pretty much on beats 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, with the odd bass drum on maybe the end of 2 or end of 4. Okay, now it would be quite boring to just play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, playing along with that. So the great thing about the rhythm that we just looked at of 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4 is that it works well with those kind of drum parts because we're kind of preempting beat 3. So over that beat, we could play. So instead of we get a little bit of momentum. Okay. So that rhythm can be used with that kind of drum beat, and because the hi-hat is playing, you know, eighth notes, we're kind of blending with that as well.